Hey, She Slayers, and welcome to another episode of She Slays the Day podcast. I am your host, Dr. Lauryn Brunslick, and today we have on Kimberly Brown, and she is going to help us all figure out our next big, best move. Okay. So, in this, we've got a little bit of everything for everyone in this one. So, in the beginning, we are talking to the associates, the employees, and kind of what you can do if you're feeling a little stuck, a little stuck. And then we're also going to talk to our CEOs and what you can do if you are feeling stuck. You can't complain about your boss. You're the boss. You know what you can do if you're the boss and you're feeling stuck? Well, I'm glad you asked. You could check out the Uncharted CEO program, which just released the beginning of this month. It is our brand new 8-week live experience for clinic owners to transform you into profit making, money, cash rich CEOs that are going to retire hella early before 65 and get you some of that freedom. That's, when I think about, so the Uncharted CEO is this evolution of the multi-passionate carpreneur. And I've had, already multiple questions from like alumni being like, what is this different? Should I do this one too? The answer is yes, you should. If you took it, the old version in 2022 or 23, you should take it. But the thing is like my core essence, like why I have the podcast, why every program that I have, whether it's our personal branding membership or the course, like the message I feel really compelled to help healthcare providers with is figuring out how to break away from the only retirement that we've kind of been shown, which is build a clinic, work in the clinic 40 hours a week, and then shove as much money into your 401k as possible. Can't touch it. And then start living your life at 65. And only 17% of you will sell your clinics. So sorry if that was your retirement plan. And that kind of, when I got into my early 30s, I had been in practice. I started when I was 24 years old. So when I kind of got to that 7-year itch, I was just like, wow. I mean, obviously I want to grow my clinic more, but like, is this it for 35 more years? This cannot possibly be it. And so that's really when I started my evolution of learning, training, studying from people who were doing it differently, understanding how to increase profit margins in a healthcare clinic where, sometimes those profit margins are razor thin. Or just starting to look at investments besides a 401k and how that's actually a pretty new, relatively new thing that has not necessarily been proven to be in our best interest. Garrett Gunderson. Yeah, Garrett Gunderson. If you haven't listened to that episode, he talked about that, how it was like this kind of Hail Mary from the pension world. And so, anyways, basically, we're just evolving as a society. So if you're a millennial and you're a clinic owner, okay, and you are not in your first year of practice and you would like to retire by 50. Now, if you're 48, I don't know. I don't know that this program might be quite the right thing for you if you're like right there. Well, actually, if you're 48 and you are still looking at the next 10 years going like, oh, I for sure am going to be practicing, message me. We'll talk. But yes, if you are a millennial clinic owner and you have not taken a look at the Uncharted CEO yet, what are you doing? What are you doing? I would love to tell you that a bunch of spots are gone, but for all my YouTube sleuths, you will see that I am wearing the same clothing and lipstick as I did for last week's intro. That's because I had to batch my intro. So this is actually July 1st. The program just released today. I have no idea how many spots are gone. I know that I have a hella awesome crew and a hella awesome wait list that is always looking. So maybe there's one of the 20 spots left, maybe not. Click the link, find out. If I let you check out and save $1,000, then hey, that's awesome. Okay, so let's get into today. Today we have Kimberly Brown, and she is a globally recognized career and leadership strategist, best-selling author, and international keynote speaker. Hey, We just learned how to make a keynote last week, didn't we, everybody? Okay. As the founder and CEO of Brown Leadership, a premier learning and development firm, she helps mid career, that's us, and senior professionals amplify their brand, accelerate growth, and drive performance. Her best selling book, Next Move, Best Move Transitioning into a Career You'll Love, has empowered thousands to take control of their careers with strategy and confidence. She also hosts the Your Next Move podcast, where she shares actionable insights on career advancement. So, obviously, some of us are not looking to climb the corporate ladder. So, don't worry. We definitely cater this to our healthcare pros listening. Let's take a breath. Dear God, thank you so much for work. Like, so often we are just really focused on putting out the fire that is this next week. But hopefully, a lot of us went into this because you put a seed in our heart that this is what we were here to do, serve patients. And God, today I just want you to touch the hearts of the people who've maybe forgotten that and are feeling like they're just not serving enough. They're not making enough. They're possibly thinking about leaving altogether. And God, just I don't know what they should do. Maybe they shouldn't stay. But only you know that. And only you know what career opportunities are coming for them and what opportunities are available to them if they do make that pivot. We don't want anybody wasting time living a less than incredible life. So, God, I know that you have it planned for them. So just be with anybody who really needs to hear your voice today and hear to stay and pivot or leave and pivot. In your name we pray. Amen. God, I really hope that for those that are listening, that you feel like you are that person. I really hope he does that for you, because that's a hard place to be, just being questioning of not what's my next move, but is this even the right thing? And do I need to leave it? So whether it's your career or anything else that you are contemplating, I pray that for you, that you get answers soon. Okay. Without further ado, here is Kimberly Brown talking about your next best move. Enjoy. All right, Kimberly. Well, welcome to the podcast. I'm excited to have you.
Yes, very excited to be here.
Okay, so give, for people who are not familiar with your background, kind of what is your short story of how you got to this point of your career?
Okay. So the short story, I
I know
describe myself.
everybody's is like, man, it is full of zigs and zags, and I don't actually know how I got here. How did I get here?
Oh my gosh. I'm like, I feel like the very short story I could say, and I used this on stage the other day. I said that I'm a personal and professional development junkie. And I think that is probably one of the best ways to describe me, my work, all of the things. I've always been that person who's like, send me to the conference. How do I do my job better? How do I communicate better? Like, I'm great tactically at whatever the thing is, but I've always been interested in how can I learn more? How can I optimize? How can I build better relationships? How can I navigate the workplace with ease? I say all the time that we spend 40 plus hours a week at work. And if your job sucks, your life sucks, because we can't make up that 40 plus hours. So I've really dedicated my life to making sure that professionals can navigate the work with ease and ultimately be in some type of career that they love. Because if you're spending that much time doing something that you hate, you can't make it up from like Friday at 5 until like Sunday at 5. It just doesn't work.
Okay, so I know that I know we talked before we started recording, and I told you that like 70% is probably entrepreneurs, but for just a moment, we'll get in and get out. For the 30% that are like, because all right, if you're an entrepreneur and you're like, yes, I hate my job, bitch, you can change it. You are the boss. Like, you
Yes,
hate that
that's
you work
hard too,
Fridays,
though.
close it. Like, okay, like, too bad. So for those that need to hear that, like, you're in charge, you have your own capacity. For the 30%, they're like, no, literally. Like, what do you have to say to those people that are working for someone else? They hate their job. Like, how, I'm sure you have to like motivate people. Is it just like one of those like, then quit, find another job?
So I'm definitely not that person who's like, all right, get out right now, like cue that song.
Ooh.
Like I'm
You're
not that
not the chat
person.
GPT. Have you seen those like funny memes lately that it's just like when chat's a little too agreeable, like girl quit.
Yeah, no, I'm not that. I have a whole chapter in my book called How to Know When It's Time to Go. Because for me, I think you have to be strategic. Not everybody has that risk tolerance that can walk in and quit their job. Like I've seen influencers do it online, like it's over, put the phone up, record themselves quitting, cursing everybody out. I saw someone at Walmart the other day leaving their job on Instagram, and they recorded cursing out the entire leadership team at Walmart over the intercom, and like dropped the mic and left. I'm like, I'm not that person. I do not believe that everyone has that level of risk tolerance. I personally don't have that level of risk tolerance where I'm just going to leave and figure it out. So I'm always big on how do we find a plan for you to make the move, maximizing everything that you have at your current job, every single benefit, relationship, interaction, project. How do we maximize that and use that as a stepping stone to do your next thing, whether that's inside of the company or outside of the company? And for entrepreneurs, like I know we can easily say, like, oh, shut the business down, move and do this. But I always think it depends on how far you are in your business. Because for me, I came from large corporate structures, large institutions. It took a while to decondition my mind that this company is mine and I can do what I
Mm.
want. I remember the first like year of entrepreneurship. I came from working at a Fortune 100 company in financial services immediately before being an entrepreneur. And whenever I had a bit of like a client issue or I had some pushback in my mind, I was like, "Oh, I need to call my VP." There's no VP.
Yes, you.
There's no VP. It took over a year. I'd say probably I'm in year 4 of being full time. I think by year 2, I finally was like, "Huh, I can just change it. I can just
Well,
do
it
it."
doesn't feel like you're always working for someone. Like
Yes,
you're
always.
working for or it can feel like you're always working for someone. Like you still have to, when you run your own business, please customers.
All the time.
So it's like, even if you don't have a boss who can fire you, you have hundreds of patients who can fire you on the daily. And
Exactly.
so it does still feel like you're like, yeah, easier said than done to just close Fridays. Like people love Fridays. They may find a different doctor if I close Fridays. And so it really does still feel often, even when you own the business, that like, am I in control?
Exactly.
Am I?
Hmm.
Back to your advice. I love the like, don't just quit. So there, I've lost employees that, came and I was getting their 2 weeks notice and they loved the job, but there was something that was missing. Maybe it was benefits, maybe it was the schedule, maybe they didn't feel like they had enough autonomy, whatever it was. In 15 years, I've had employees quit. And I would say more than 50% of the employees who have quit for something different, there's this feeling that I'm like, I wish you would have talked to me 3 months ago because I do have the power to change this for you. And so, like, to that 30% that is like, if you are unhappy, I would say, but there's this fear that, like, if I communicate that I'm unhappy, then they're going to fire me. And it's like, if you have to trust that relationship with leadership, hopefully you trust leadership that, like, they want to take care of you and they want to keep you.
Yes.
And so give them the opportunity to work with you too. If you want to make more money, come to
Hmm.
them and say, how can I make more money? Like, I
I'm
want
a big
to.
believer in that. I think, but the reality is you're probably that amazing boss who you can have that conversation with, which is absolutely positively incredible. And I thoroughly believe that every manager should be like that. But for every person there is that's like you, I just did I do this almost like career and leadership coaching thing at another company where they bring me in a few times a year and people just get to ask me questions. And there's this question that came up that we were kind of going back and forth on, like the internal team versus me. They bring me because I'm external and I get to just tell the truth. But the
Right.
question was basically an employee said they had their performance plan, they're doing really well, and they really wanted to figure out, how do I really get to my next role? How do I move into a director role? Like that's really what my goal is. And the director role was their boss's role. And for 2 years, that person has penalized them for saying that they wanted to become a director like them. For 2 years, they've dealt with microaggressions, getting taken off projects, or you don't need to be on this call. Like, you clearly just want to steal my job. And it's like, no, it's like, this is what my goal. I don't want to stay here forever. Like, I'm not saying I want your job. I'm saying I want to grow to do that over time. But the manager felt so threatened. They'd been penalizing this person. And I remember on the call, I was like, first of all, it's all anonymous. I was like, kudos to you for even staying, because a lot of people wouldn't have tolerated this for 3 months, let alone 2 years. I'm like, but every manager, I believe, every good manager needs to be ready to develop their person to whatever their next thing is, because it's unrealistic that that person's going to stay there forever.
Right.
Even if their goal is to get into your role, it's like, okay, well, how can I support you here for as long as I can? And then help you go to the next place. I think a lot of folks don't, because like, you're great and you could have had that conversation. A lot of managers can't take it, whether it's they want more money or they want access to a project or they need another benefit. People hear that and then they start to act funny.
Damn.
So
All
it's
right. Well, I'll
tough.
keep making sure that we have we'll just keep doing this leadership podcast and hopefully more people don't suck. Yeah. I mean, I would just imagine like, yeah, anytime like I've had employees like when I was hiring a doctor being like, "Hey, if you know you want to own your own business, like one, okay, we got options there. Great.
Mhm.
How long are you willing to stay here and I will teach you everything and like that's great. I know that in 2 years you want to leave. I can
Yeah.
plan for that. Like two, I'm also like finance like real estate and like acquisition growth. So it's like, can I be a silent partner in your business and help fund you? And then like you pay me back, like, because that sounds fantastic to
Yes.
me. Win-win. Like, do you want to buy my business? Like, there's
Yes,
so
there's so
many
many
options.
options. I think as a good manager, I think you just have to continue to create these corrective experiences. That's what they call it in therapy. Like, for every time that you've gotten in trouble or messed up, you need corrective experiences to know that it's okay. So I tell managers, make it public. Keep on talking about it. Allow people to come to you and don't give them the screw face. Don't retaliate. And the more that happens, people will know that that's a culture where you're able to do that. But it takes time. And also in the workplace, we're taking everybody else's baggage with us. So it's like, how many jobs did they have before you where their manager acted crazy? And now they finally are in the land of milk and honey with you. And they're like, hold on, this has happened 3 times
Yeah,
before.
they don't have trust. That we just
Exactly.
had that where I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's gonna take them over a year of working with us just to know, like, we got you, we got you.
Yes.
Okay. So one of the things I found surprising is that, so, okay, so the path of a lot of like healthcare providers is they're very achiever mindset. It takes a lot of schooling. You have to get good grades. And so they're just this like achiever of like, they know what's next. In high school, they know what's next. In college, they know what's next. In
Yes.
grad school, they know what's next. And then they do the next. And then a couple years in, it's like the 7-year itch,
Hmm.
basically.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of times it happens earlier. Like it like can start as early as like 2 or 3 years where you're just like, oh, this is it. Like, this is it. Like, there's this like wake up call that there's a lot of monotony in
Yeah.
adulting. Like, no matter most jobs, corporate, dentistry, chiropractic, lawyer, it's monotonous. It's the same issues, a different day. And so I usually say it's like at least that 3-year part because in the beginning, you're learning how to make those like all those daily things easy. And so then once you get good at your job, like that's basically it. Once you're good at your job, you realize like, okay, well,
I just keep doing more of this like
what's the
forever.
next challenge? So is that what prompted, like, is that kind of the idea behind the next best move or the next move, best move? Like, what kind of prompted you to feel like people needed your book or that
So
message?
no, but I like that too. Because I also think that's part of the reality of it. I teach people that you need to create a career that creates opportunities for you. because you can't be dependent on a manager, on a company, even the best. You need to have your own plan made for you by you to help you with your career growth. I had been speaking for years, teaching career workshops, and honestly, people thought I had a book and I did not. I would get off stage and people would be like, "Oh my gosh, like let me buy your book." And I was like, I don't really have one of those.
What
Um,
happened?
so over time, what I did was I put all of the teachings that I have into the book. And for me, the main goal I had was that a lot of people don't know that they can hire a career coach. And if they do know about having a career or leadership coach, they believe their company should pay for it. And a lot of companies don't pay for it for entry to mid level professionals, like the bulk of the workforce. They only pay for it for executives who kind of figured it out already. So I wanted to give a resource that people are able to use to help them navigate the world of work and put together their own career plan. So we talk about everything from, even if you don't know what you want to do, how do you create the vision for where you want to take your career? How do you build relationships, determine your core values? How do you negotiate your salary? All of those things are in the book. So if you've ever wanted a career coach, and like, I can't pay that money, or you don't want to pay that money to get the advice, I put it in a book. So it's like, here you go. You'll be all right.
So I've never contemplated. So like I have lots of different coaches. I've never thought of them as like a career coach. Do you feel like someone who's they have let's just say a simple job. They're not in corporate America where there's a gazillion different titles. It is like I am a chiropractor. My options are to chiropract for someone else or chiropract for myself. Like, does that person, like same story, dentist, vets, like, does a career coach still fit in there?
It does. So I think that when people hear the term career coach, all they think about is job search. They're like,
Yes,
I can
exactly.
Google and do my resume. I can do my cover letter. Like, I can apply for jobs. I know the databases for my industry. Like, why do I need to talk to anyone? And that's honestly what I did in the early days. So I spent 10 plus years career coaching in higher education. I always say I've worked with folks 18 who don't know what to do with their life, all the way through folks in their 50s and 60s who want to take their experiences and do something different and have some joy. So really the gamut, industry agnostic. But there's different facets of career coaching. There's career coaches who are on that job search, on helping you get your materials. There's folks who specialize in interviewing, some in salary negotiation. But there's a whole other segment that I think people forget about that they generally just call executive coaching, but it's career coaching. It could be a
Mhm.
leadership coach, leadership strategist, career and leadership strategist, whatever you want to call it. But it helps you on the day-to-day nuances of your job. So how are you dealing, especially for people who own their own business? A lot of folks who own their own business haven't necessarily been in larger structures where they've learned how to manage properly.
No, they have no
Yes.
fucking idea. We have no idea what we're doing, especially for those of us that did not like go to business school. Like
Yeah.
I'm telling people like it's okay that we don't know this. I mean, you need to learn it because it's like, well, other people were taking economics and I don't know what business classes, business ethics for sure, that you're taking. Like we were taking biochem, like we were taking
Yeah.
anat and phys and dissecting cadavers, and then we're like, oh, okay, cool, so we take all the science that you taught us, thank you for that, and now we just apply it to business. Like, no,
It is
no.
not. And that's where a different type of career coach can come in. So I always say you have to look at someone's specialty. What is the thing that they work on? What is the thing that makes them special? What is the thing that they like to help clients do? So like in business, we call that like when you're developing a coaching program, it's like, what is the transformation you provide your clients? So what is the transformation that you need? So I would say that many folks who own their own business, they need a career or executive coach to teach them how to lead. How do they lead themselves? And even more importantly, how do they lead and manage others? Because again, when you're first starting out, managing one or two folks is very different from when you have five, very different from when you're a manager of managers. So you have people who are in your business who don't directly report to you. So how do you get visibility
That's a
on that?
weird place to be, by the way.
It is.
Like,
It
I
is.
have an employee that I didn't hire,
Mhm.
like, does not report to me. And I'm like, this is weird. Like,
It is.
it's easy to have like a lot of control issues over your own business when it's one or two, and then even five or six. But then we become our own bottlenecks because if that's uncomfortable to you, well, then you're not going to have 20 employees. Like, if you can't give up that process.
It is. Even as you start to think about even the vision for your company. I think a lot of times people get bored. And I got trained early on from one of my coaches that when you start to get bored, sometimes it means your vision isn't big enough. Like you decided that this was fine. Like you got the dream job, the dream career, you started the dream business, you hit the revenue goal that you wanted to hit, and you're like, okay, this is it. And you start to get bored and you start to get itchy. And it's like, well, what else is there? There's coaches who can help you explore. I do exercise with my clients called the ideal day, where I tell them you need to break out of the box of your own thinking and let's go pie in the sky at whatever date. Normally I like to do somewhere between 2 and 10 years. What if we woke up on that day? What does your ideal day look like? And I mean everything from the moment you wake up in the morning, like in your eyes open, are you by yourself? Are you with someone? What did you eat? What's the first thing you did till going to bed again? What does that day look like? What does your company look like? What does your life look like? Your family? And really thinking even bigger about what things can look like. Because I think boredom sometimes happens when you feel like there's no options. Like you've been doing the same thing. Like, well, what else? Now, I have a podcast where I talk about is it your hustle season or rest season? So I also want to validate that. For some folks, it's a rest season and you're good. And I think that we all need folks like that. We all need businesses like that, people like that, where it's like, we are in the lane and we are fine. I had a call with someone yesterday who owns a company and they are like, you know what? I'm good right here. Money is good, team is good. I'm going to rock this out until I close it. And that's perfectly fine. So if that's where you are, then good. Keep on doing that. But if you are itching, then it's like, okay, well, what else? How could we open your brain a little bit more? How could we think about the next level, another type of service? I met a dentist the other day who's gotten obsessed with different laser treatments. And it was so cool. The things that he talked about in dentistry, he just went down this rabbit hole, had to go through additional training and everything else, but he's transformed his practice based upon bringing in these lasers, transformed like his
Mhm.
clients' lives. And it was so interesting. And I'm like, and I go to the dentist. I hate the dentist, but I go and I've never seen any of the treatments that he offers there.
This is why dentists and chiropractors have so much in common. We're like, yeah, some people love us and some people are terrified of us.
I love the chiropractor.
Good. All
Hate
right,
the
good, good, good.
dentist. Went to the chiropractor yesterday. He did some crazy move on my shoulder. I didn't even know I can get like a knot. And what is it, like my rotator cuff?
Yeah.
Because I had stress yesterday. He did some maneuver and I was like, I almost had that. I always
Yeah.
have that moment of
It's
like, am I
magic.
still alive? Am I alive? It was so good.
Okay, so all right. So I have like 14 questions, but all right, so let's say you have some. I love that you said the thing about the bored person because so like I call this podcast sometimes the triple B podcast. This is for healthcare professionals who are worried about becoming bored, broke, or burnt out. And I have ADHD a little bit, undiagnosed, unmedicated. I'm highly functioning. It's fine. And so getting bored and needing to pivot is a big thing for me. But I want to there's this weird thing that, so for the other healthcare professionals who are not chiropractors, you can just listen and be like, oh, you guys are weird. So chiropractors do this weird ass thing
Oh,
where part of the profession takes pride in not evolving. Yeah. Mhm.
interesting.
So okay, so like 7 years in, like 5 years into practice, I got out of network with insurance. That was fun. Then in a couple another years later, I brought in like this new technology on nervous system scans. That was fun. Last year, I brought in a decompression table. That was fun. I'm fine. It's been fun, but all along the way, some chiropractors get really like snooty about like, so like, oh, you're not pure. That's not the
Oh,
word they use, but like
yeah.
you're not pure, like you're doing lasers and this or that, like you're shining light away from what chiropractic is. And that's really been messed up to me because I do have this ADHD where I'm like, okay, so for some people in their profession to feel worthy, they are being told they just have to stick in being bored and they can't adapt and evolve. And we wonder why people are burning out, right?
Yeah, I don't believe in that. I'm like,
No,
at all. With the way the
no.
world works, like, no, it's just things are moving so fast and you don't want to be left behind. I said recently on stage, I was like, I avoided ChatGPT for a very long time. I remember people were talking about it. I have a lot of friends who work in big tech, and I was like, I'm not talking to this thing, asking it questions. And like, that just sounds dumb. Like, I'm not doing it. I'm not. And like, it took me probably like a year. And now chat is
And now
like my
you're
best
best
friend.
friends. Yep.
Oh,
Now you're
yeah.
best
It's
friends.
just so much easier. Even just helping me get the format for how to do things. And I tell folks, I'm like, what could I have been doing a year ago with more assistance? If I had done this, if I had like, I use it almost like a thought partner. How do I get like a framework for this so then I can further develop it, add the human aspect and polish it up so it meets my standards? I'm like, what could I have been doing? So I tell people all the time, I'm like, yeah, there's an element sometimes of like everybody has like the pure element. I even feel like that in career coaching where I'm like, I move completely away from resumes and cover letters. You really can't get me to review it. If you are a paying client of mine and you're really looking for something else, I'll take a peek, but those line by line edits, you missed a period here. You didn't use the action plus result format here. I'm so over it. So over. And when I broke out of that and really focused on developing leaders, that's when everything changed. I'm like, because I'm like, I can't do the resume cover letter. Like when I was in higher ed, I was seeing like 8 to 10 appointments a day, like going through the resume, going through the cover letter, maybe prepping for interviewing. And I was so bored. And that's what I thought
Yeah,
I
it's
had to
just
do
old
when I
school,
started. Yeah.
right?
I'm
Now
like, you
it's
have to
like,
move the
yeah,
ball.
what's your online presence look like? That says way more than a resume.
Basically, there's TikTok career coaches now, like
Yeah,
who not even had like a full-time job yet, and they're helping people like land jobs. And like, it's crazy. Like you have to evolve.
this
Like
is
there's so many
wild.
different
It is
things.
wild out there.
Yes.
Okay, so I want to go back to you talked about like, is this a hustle season or is this a rest season?
Mhm.
And so, like, I want to kind of combine that with being a couple years into your career and feeling itchy about like what the next move is. So, like, I feel like, when you start a business, you're in hustle mode. Like, you need to be, that's important. That's how you get a, you know, and I feel like we've really talked too much shit about hustle culture. Like,
Yeah.
ew, like it's like you're doing it wrong if you're hustling, like, oh, you're trying hard. And it's like, yeah, I'm trying to start a business. Like, we would never
Yeah.
like to a brand new parent of like, oh, you're like 100% focused on keeping this baby alive. Ew. Like, you should have work-life balance. Like, you're not focusing it. So you have your hustle stage, and that lasts. I always tell people like, ride that energy as long as you
Oh
possibly can.
yeah.
Oh my God, don't let up. If you are still feeling like you are loving the hustle and like you are knocking on doors and doing screenings 4 years in, fucking go. Just keep
Yes.
going.
Run.
Like, go. Just sprint as long as you can. So, for whatever, maybe it kind of wears off a year and a half, maybe it's 5.5 years off. Wherever people are, they're coming out of their hustle season. Like, one, it's okay to rest. All right. So
Yes.
let's say, so yeah, blah, blah, blah. They're resting. Let's say they've rested for a little bit. It's going to be different for everyone. They're starting to feel guilty, itchy. They don't know. They don't know. Like, maybe like, how do you help someone figure out like, it's okay for you? You're still resting and that's okay. Or, nope, you're ready to go into your next stage of hustle. And here's the steps that we're going to start doing. How do you figure out where they're at? Because so many of us, we're not comfortable with rest.
No, we're
So it's,
not. No.
it's like, well, I rested for the last month. Like, I rested for the last 3 months. And you're like, yeah, but you hustled for 6 years. So how do I know when I'm ready to come out of rest?
So I think for those folks, and we're speaking really for like high achievers, right? I think if you're going into a rest season, set some goals around it. What do you want to feel? How will
What
you
would a
know?
goal look like?
Yeah, what
Just
would it, yeah. So like how do you need to regulate your nervous system? Like I know that when I went through a rest season, I would panic in the morning when I saw Slack and when I saw emails. Like my body just it couldn't handle it. Like when I was going full time, I felt like I was full time in my business, full time in my corporate career. I used to build in cry time because I was so tired. I would think that I was good. I would get to my computer, I would turn it on, and as everything would flood and start to load, the tears would come. And I couldn't help it. So I used to just build an extra time. Like I need an extra 30 to 45 minutes to gather myself when I log in before anything. I can't just like run and like, people talk about when you work from home, like 8:50, you're still like coming out the shower. That couldn't be me. I needed to get to my computer by like 7:45, 8 so I can panic and then do the work. So when I went into my rest season, I was like, I wanted to not feel triggered when I turned my laptop on. I wanted to have a sense of calm. I wanted to have a meditation practice to calm myself. I wanted to also get a life. That was a big thing. I wanted to have a hobby outside of building my business that I enjoyed and I could go to. So I kind of put some parameters around like, okay, this is what it looks like when I have a hobby. This is what it looks like when I do other things. I wanted to build a schedule. And when I felt like I had that, I was like, okay, now I can transition. I think the same way we have that itch because we want to do something different. If you have the itch and the creativity to go back to work and kind of go into a hustle season, that's your signal to kind of pick back up. One of my girlfriends just did an 8 month sabbatical, and that's how she knew that it was time because like the ideas started flowing again. And it was like, ooh, like, and she wanted to execute. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the sign that it's ready to pick back up again. Because when you're still burnt out and you're still tired, those ideas happen and you panic because you don't want to execute them. Or you get tired and feel like you need to take a nap just by the mere thought of an idea that you have to implement with your team. But that new energy, when you're rested, you're gonna be like, ooh, like I'm excited to put this plan together. I'm excited to deliver this new service. I'm excited to hire this person. It's a completely different energy I feel like that you tap into.
Shit. Yeah. Yeah. No, I know exactly what you mean. You are okay waking up an hour earlier to work on it. You're
Yeah.
okay working, yeah, at night because you're passionate and excited.
Yeah.
So the problem is,
Uh-oh.
is like you can't force the rest. And some people, definitely not me, um, will be like, okay, I have the month of July where I can rest. That's your month. But August 1st, you're starting a launch. So rest up in July and be ready by August 1st. And like that masculine timeline
Mhm.
of like, it doesn't mesh well with the rest and
Right.
hustle cycle. So what do you do for that person that's like, well, I have a launch. I have to like, you can't force it.
So one of the things I do with my clients, I have them come up with an ideal calendar schedule. I call it like my CEO calendar rules. And I totally get that even if we set it on day one, like it may take a few weeks, even months to get to that ideal schedule. But the goal is that we are not running to rest all the time. We are not launching to then rest. We are not like hustling, hustling, hustling. And like, okay, now I just have July and I'll be able to rest. We want to start to build in rest throughout the week, throughout each day. Like, how can you create pockets of you being able to do nothing? I think we all need vegetation time where you are one with your couch and your favorite snack, and you can veg out. For me, that's watching Grey's Anatomy again. Again, I've seen it multiple times and I'm caught up. I'm like, but that's how my brain shuts off. You need to figure out what is that activity that allows your mind, body, soul to rest. Some of my clients, they just need that time to take a walk. When I used to work in Manhattan, I used to work down by Vesey Street, and you can walk along the water. And I used to build in time, especially on stressful days. Like I just, even if it's a 30-minute window in between meetings that I have to like eat a bar while I'm walking, that would be my time to build and rest. So even while you have all these appointments, you're seeing clients, how do you build in time so that you don't have this back and forth? Because that's not necessarily sustainable. For some people, maybe it's okay. So if it feels good to you, like I'm all for like you like it, I love it. Like if you don't mind that, that's okay. But I don't want you to just have July all year. I don't think that's sustainable. Maybe your launch then is 6 weeks. So then what reward are you going to get in mid-September if you're starting August 1? I want you to think about what does your day look like? What does your week look like? And then ultimately, what does the year look like where you can build in these pockets of rest so that we're not just working to the bone to rest.
Right. Okay. So how does someone who is they're not really sure, they're confused where they're at. They're not sure if they're burnt out, but they're definitely not feeling the passion. How do they figure out like what's the next move? What are some strategies that they can do? Because so many of us just feel lost and aimless. We're like, well, I definitely don't have creativity and passion coming to me, but like I feel restless. Maybe aimless isn't the right word. Restless is the word where it's like, well, I'm not energized, but I'm sure as shit restless. So what kind of strategies can that person take to like figure out that next move?
The first thing I'd say that they need time. They need thinking time. Another one of my favorite assignments for my clients is deep thinking time. Like, give yourself uninterrupted time when your brain is functioning at its best, just to really think and give yourself a little analysis of like, okay, am I just annoyed? Because some people have just had like a really bad manager experience. Like, you're not burned out. You don't hate your job. You don't hate your career. You hate that human. That's
Mm.
really what the issue
Mhm.
is. And the strategy needs to be, how do we get you away from this human so you can work around this human so you can feel better? Other people have been fundamentally burnt
That's
out
some
to
fucking truth bomb right there.
It is. It
You
is. And I
don't
think
hate your career. You just hate that boss.
you do, and you're spending too much time with them. You can't get away, and it feels like
Oh.
burnout. So I want you to figure out what it is. Is it like, are you going through a hard season with your kids? Like when I have clients who have kids who are in that sick season where they're catching a cold every daggone minute, and you're working crazy hours at work, you're not burned out necessarily, but it's like a really tough season. We need to figure out, how do we get these kids well so you can stop cleaning up things all over the house after working a full day, getting called from work all the time because you tried to send the kid back to school and it didn't work out. So I think there's situational times, and then there's like no fundamental, no matter what you do, even after a weekend of rest, even after a vacation, you still come back fundamentally in your core exhausted, like you did not get any rest. That is when I feel like burnout is there. Like, and that means that you need a much longer term strategy to nurse yourself back to health so you can think better, work better, function better in general.
Got it. So, towards the beginning of the podcast, you mentioned that like you built a career or that you stay on stage, that individuals need to create opportunities within their career. Like, how did you? So, for a lot of healthcare providers, when they hear that, the only thing they think of is becoming the owner of like, well, I need to become the owner if I want to create opportunities. And I would imagine that you would say that is absolutely not true. And can you talk to that a little bit?
Definitely, definitely. So what I said was, like for people to create a career that creates opportunities for them.
Yes, that's what you
And
said.
that really aligns with building a personal brand, building a brand that is bigger than just you in this particular role in this particular company. I see most folks do it. Like for me, that's speaking. I've always enjoyed speaking at conferences. I love doing news segments. I love talking about the work that I'm doing, sharing best practices, sharing things more in the thought leadership aspect. Some people like to write. Some people like to immerse themselves in like a certain type of tech. Like I was talking about that dentist and the lasers. When I say create a career that creates opportunities for you, I want you to build a brand that exists outside of the four walls that you walk into every single day. Because I'm assuming everyone, if you're in the medical field, you're going into work. You're not working remotely.
Nope.
So
That is one of the main problems.
yeah, so I'm like, so you need to build something that isn't just connected to exactly where you are right now, so that you as an individual have a brand that is outside of that. Because I think a lot of times when people have that bad manager, or when they made that move to another company and they can't quite stand it, or maybe they launch their practice and like, this is not what I thought it was going to be. I don't like this. They feel stuck, like they have to do it because nobody knows them. They put all their eggs in this one basket. And now they're like, I've got to make it work because I have no other option. But when you have built a brand, you have options, you have relationships, you have conversations that you can have. There are other outlets that you can leverage, and levers that you can pull to make your next move.
So, how does this work in like corporate America? So, let's say that I was a manager at a Fortune, I don't know, a big company or whatever. And I wanted to start a personal brand where I was giving leadership advice online. Like, do I need to notify? So, like, is there a polite way to be like, hey, especially like if I'm going to be having workshops and a course and like I'm going to be selling things online, like, do I have to get approval? Like, do I have to, how does that work in corporate world? Because then I want to like explain, I don't know what the professional thing to do over in my world is.
So, first, I would say it's not just corporate, it's everywhere. If
Yeah.
you are working for someone else and the company is not yours, I want you to go to that manual, that employment handbook, that you didn't read when you signed.
Right.
And because nobody does. And I need you to look for the conflict of interest statement. I need you to look for the social media policy, marketing policy. Generally, it's under those things like social media marketing and conflict of interest. Those are the two statements that I need you to go read immediately because some companies have a policy, some do not. So I've worked at really large institutions. I've worked at Princeton, I've worked in the Columbia University system for Teachers College, I've worked at American Express and a few other places. And every company has a different way that they're doing it. Sometimes I just had to always say all opinions are my own. So back in the day when I was on Twitter, like my location always said all tweets are my own. Like and do not reflect my company. On my website, on my about page, on any key pages, always like working with me does not guarantee employment at this institution or any institution I've worked at. There were certain statements that they wanted on my site. Other times they're like, go forth into the light. Like, it's okay. Like, what are you doing? That's fine. Or I couldn't work with anybody who was affiliated with the institution. And those were like rules that I had like in place. So I would say every organization is different. So
But
I
you
want
went
you
and
to,
talked to someone and said
oh, so I read the
hey,
policy
it's
first. And
not
if I,
like it's kind of messy in the like this is what I'm doing type of thing. Because like what I'm picturing is like if it's not in there and you go do it and then like your manager sees it and gets mad, like and you're like, well, it wasn't in the policy. Like, well, you still have a manager that doesn't trust you and feels weird now. So like good luck keeping your job. So like transparency, yes.
so I'd say this is where your risk tolerance comes in.
Okay.
Some people are fine asking for forgiveness versus permission.
Mm-hmm.
Other people want to ask for permission versus ask for forgiveness. So you need to determine who you are because if it's in
Mm-hmm.
the policy book and you are abiding by the rules that are in the policy, then
And
you're
then your
okay.
manager says no, but they don't really have a right to say no.
Exactly.
Mm.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Now, if you are doing something like if you are a manager in human resources and you have a hair care brand where you are making like hair oils and body oils and butters, that is very unrelated. There's
Hmm.
generally not going to be a lot of conflict of interest there. But if you are that HR manager and you are offering HR advice, then that could definitely be a conflict of interest. So I never recommend if you are going to talk to your company and you are going to disclose, I do not recommend going in there wishy-washy. Don't be like, well, I really don't know. I'm just an idea. No, because just an idea means that you don't know what you're doing and you're going to break the rules. That's what they heard.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they
Uh-huh.
heard you say. So I would try and well bake your idea out, have your rules, have the things so that when they ask you questions, you're not like, well, I didn't really think about that yet. You need to have thought about that yet. You can have like maybe one or two like things that you're still ironing out, but don't go in there like bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, super excited with nothing, no idea about what you're doing.
Oh, okay. Um maybe just don't do OnlyFans across the board though. Like
Yeah, 10 out
not
of 10 don't recommend. That's the morality clause. Most of the time, that is
oh,
the
there's a
moral.
morality clause in these.
Yes,
Okay.
that is the morality clause. And there's another clause where they just basically talk about like your external presence. You can't do anything crazy. Even for me as like an agency doing like learning and development work, there are some contracts I signed that talks about me as an individual and me as a company. Like I could not have like a sex scandal out in the world that's on the news. They could fire me then, even though it's unrelated to my work. The performance is great, but there's like that morality. They call it a few different things, like talk to your attorney. This is not legal advice by any way,
Talk
shape,
to
or
your chat
form.
GPT
Disclaimer.
attorney.
Yes, not chat, a real attorney, but there are some clauses in there about things like that. And that is even now, not so much, but years ago, even being in the marijuana industry, that could be a
Mm-hmm.
little wishy-washy. I remember years ago, this was probably 2018, I turned down a speaking engagement for a women in marijuana conference because when I reached out, because I knew it was a conservative place I was working, I reached out, talked to my leader and talked to HR. They were a little worried about the morality piece.
Got it. Yeah. Yeah. And so, and then you respected that and turned it
I
down.
did. I did, yeah.
Okay. So for us as leaders and owners, then how do we, okay. So, cause like I, at my core, believe too many people, too many healthcare providers, like you go into healthcare because you're a caregiver, like you love taking care of patients, but then too many of them are being like in their mind being forced to turn into entrepreneurs
Mhm.
because they don't feel like they have autonomy. They don't feel like, like they have to approve something. If I want an OnlyFans, I know, Like, damn it, I want to show my feet.
Then I'm going to do it. Yeah.
So for whatever reason, too many people are feeling like they have to start their own, which is the worst reason to start a business because it is so hard. So to the leaders, I believe that we have a very strong responsibility to create an atmosphere for our doctors that are working for us, that they feel autonomy, that they feel that if they want to make more money, they can create a personal brand and they can do this. Mm-hmm. So let's just say I'm a chiropractor and I am hiring you and I employ multiple chiropractors and we're working on what exactly my business, like we're working on what my contract. We don't need to talk like the legal aspect, but like what are my policies going to be that protect me and my business, but allow my employees that autonomy to build a personal brand? Like what should be allowed? What shouldn't? Like how would you advise me in this?
So again, personal preference, but I believe in that morality clause and the disparagement clauses. I believe in like,
what's
if you
disparagement?
Disparagement is like talking bad about your company.
Yeah,
I believe in,
you can't be talking shit about my
yes.
business. Okay,
I
yes,
believe in
we're
those
for sure putting
clauses.
that one
Yes.
in.
Yes, that one. I believe in the morality of like having a line of like what's acceptable versus not acceptable. So if you don't want someone, again, if we're going to use OnlyFans, if you don't want someone who's a chiropractor on your team who also has an OnlyFans, and you don't want that duality there, even if they're not co-branding. So even if they're not saying, hi, I am Dr. So-and-so who works at this place, who is also on OnlyFans, even if they're not using that, you want to make sure that it's okay. Mm-hmm. And then I think it's just determining, I think that co-branding part is the part that I think that most people and I know we're talking about your audience right now, but I think in general, I think organizations need to understand what co-branding means and if it's allowed or not allowed. If they're able to say they are Dr. So-and-so who also works here, who does this, can they put it in their bio? So if you read the bio on the back of my book, it says, I'm Kimberly Brown, and I've worked at some of the nation's top universities and a Fortune 100 company in financial services. It does not say the company names at all because co-branding was not allowed. Co-branding at every company I was at was either not allowed at all or not until you were super senior. So you would never see me, even I had hundreds of news segments. You will never hear me say the names of the places that I've worked in my bio or in my intro. They're not even listed. And if someone did it, like on a podcast like this, when I was working full time, I would have like had to message you after, like, "Hey, Lauryn, do you mind re-recording that intro? Can you just, take out those company names?" So I would want them to understand: are they going to allow that, or and if they are going to allow it, is there going to be any type of approval system, any type of vetting for opportunities and things like that, and determine what the tolerance is? And again, it could
I
feel a
see
little
why
icky.
businesses don't want, because like in my mind, I was like, okay, so should I allow co-branding? But then also, I don't want to be worried about having to approve or whatever. So I can see where it's just cleaner to be like, no.
You could say no, but I also think on the other side, if you have someone who is like killing it out there and they're getting news segments, they're getting features, they're
Then
commenting
that's
on all these
bringing
things.
business to your business.
Exactly. And it can do phenomenal things. So that's why a lot of companies also do it based on seniority, because they think, seniority equals having a little bit more common sense for some folks. I don't always agree
Like
with
if you
that.
haven't worked here for at least 2 years.
Yes.
Yeah, I could see that. Okay. All right. That's what I'm going to do. I like that. Okay.
Yeah. So I think that's also really helpful. And I think going back to almost one of your first questions about the bad manager, I think I would just caution folks, when an opportunity comes, if you do have some type of approval system, don't take it from that person. Because I've seen that with clients where it's like they have this approval system and then their boss takes the opportunity. And I was like, oh, great, but we're going to go and represent the company instead. We're not going to have you do it. And that's not cool. That's how you get people to lie to you and leave, because now they don't trust you. So it has to be open. And if this person is the one going out, getting the opportunities, they're the one who whatever outlet is talked to about being featured, let that person be the feature. If you're going to give them coaching on it, that's fine. If you're a larger company that has like a communications office and you can kind of go through talking points with them and help prep, that's fine. But don't take it. Don't take it and give it to someone more senior. Because I've seen that happen too. And I'm like, that always feels so icky. So
Yeah.
icky.
And like, I can, in my head, I can see, so like your list, like so many owners would be like, oh my gosh, wouldn't it be amazing if your employee came to you and said, like, hey, I got a segment on the local news talking about prenatal chiropractic.
Hmm.
Um, and like, okay, so one, we're like, oh my gosh, that'd be amazing if our employees took that initiative. They're doing it for their personal brand first and foremost. Like that's
Yes.
where the initiative come from. Like yes, they want to bring honor and glory to your business and new
Yes.
patients, but like really they're doing it because they are building their personal brand. So if you want that, then you want employees who are building a personal brand. But then I can see where I was like, oh my gosh, what a jerk who would take it. But for those of us, like, let's just listen for a sec. Your employee comes to you and says, like, I got a segment on this. Like, how many of us would want to go, like, well, I don't know if you should be the one to do that. Maybe I
Exactly.
should be the represent, like, because it sounds
Hmm.
nasty when you're like, I can't believe that, like, manager would do that. And you're like, okay, but think about how this could play out. And so you have, like,
And they
mm-hmm.
take it. And I'm like, and I think that's a great opportunity to partner and prep.
And then you take it, and they're like, we know exactly what happens next. Like, oh, the boss took it. Well, that was the last opportunity that employee is going to seek out.
Oh yeah. And then they'll do the thing where they just won't tell you anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll do or not use the company name. So, and I say that like all these people like, oh my God, who would do that? It's like, as someone who
When you
works in the
like,
space,
you
I
can
hear it all
see
the
how it would
time.
happen though, even to
Mhm.
like a well-meaning person who's not a jerk. You can see where they're like, oh my gosh, you got us a news segment. Well, I'm the owner. I should probably be the one. Yeah. Okay. This is good. This is great. This is helpful. Um, okay. So talk to me about what next move, best move is, and where people can get more of you and your great advice.
Oh, I love that. So next move, best move, right behind me. It's my book. It's available everywhere. You can go on Amazon, you can go Barnes and Noble, Books a Million, anywhere you want to have it. So if you're looking to really start thinking about building a career that creates opportunities for itself, you want to talk about personal branding, the relationships that you need, I highly recommend it. You can find me at KimberlyBeOnline.com, Kimberly Be Online on all socials, and my company, brownleadership.com.
Love it. Thank you so much. We will have those links below. Um, wait, did you mention podcast?
I do have I'm not consistent though. I feel like I can't say that. So I'm like,
Okay, never mind. Don't go listen to her podcast.
I have over 100 episodes. It's called the Your Next Move podcast with Kimberly Brown, but I haven't been consistent. So I feel bad sharing it when I'm not consistent, and I need to be better. But there's great episodes there. There is great content. So Your Next Move with Kimberly Brown, it's everywhere too. And I apologize if I don't know when the next episode is coming out.
That's all right. You're showing that you can have a podcast and not need to do weekly episodes. That's also okay. So, Kimberly, thank you so much. This was really helpful. Every time I like have someone on and I'm just like, oh, how have I been doing this 15 years? And this is the first time I'm figuring out this shit in this conversation right now. So I appreciate you so
Anytime.
much. All right, She Slayers, I will have those links below for you. Make sure you check out Kimberly's website and her book. And until next time, bye.